If you're a diehard Browns fan and love breaking down the game like we do, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss a blitz. The Cleveland Browns, a franchise that has long been known for its unpredictability and occasional chaos, are once again under the microscope as the NFL season unfolds. This time, all eyes are on a situation that seems almost too bizarre to be true: the development, or lack thereof, of rookie quarterback Shedeur Sanders. The story has sparked conversations, debates, and a lot of head-scratching among fans, analysts, and casual observers alike, especially after a recent report from Tony Rizzo that paints a puzzling picture of Sanders' role in the organization. Entering Week 2 of the season, the Browns have officially named Joe Flacco as their starting quarterback, a decision that in itself raised eyebrows given Flacco's veteran status and the potential that the team holds in its younger quarterbacks. Flacco, a Super Bowl champion with years of experience under his belt, is unquestionably a stabilizing presence on the field, someone who can manage games and provide leadership. Behind him sits Dillon Gabriel, the rookie who serves as the primary backup, and then there's Shedeur Sanders, the third-string quarterback whose role, at least on paper, is to be the emergency option should anything happen to the first two quarterbacks. But according to the latest reports, Sanders' presence might be more symbolic than functional. On Thursday, during an episode of The Tony Rizzo Show, Rizzo shared information that has immediately caused a stir in Cleveland and beyond. According to his sources, Sanders isn't even participating in scout team activities, something that has long been a cornerstone of rookie development in the NFL. For those unfamiliar, the scout team is where backup quarterbacks and other players often hone their skills, get reps against first-team defenses, and prepare for potential in-game situations. Not running scout team reps is highly unusual for a rookie quarterback, especially one who is supposed to be part of the team's future plans. Rizzo's exact words, as quoted, were startling. "I'm hearing Shedeur isn't even running scout team. He's literally watching everyone. Why is he on the team? Why is he here?" This statement alone has fueled speculation about whether the Browns have a clear development plan for Sanders or if the rookie is being sidelined without a transparent reason. In the modern NFL, where quarterback development is critical for both short-term performance and long-term success, leaving a talented young player on the sidelines seems counterintuitive at best and potentially disastrous at worst. Of course, it's important to take a measured view here. What Rizzo reported is, as he himself notes, based on what he's hearing. The reality is that media access to team practices during the season is extremely limited, meaning that much of what the public sees or hears is filtered through a handful of sources. Unless someone within the organization explicitly leaks information, fans are largely left guessing about the intricacies of day-to-day practice routines. That said, if Rizzo's report proves accurate, it raises serious questions about the Browns' strategy, or lack thereof, when it comes to Sanders. How can a quarterback develop, particularly a rookie, without meaningful reps in practice? Is this a case of mismanagement, an oversight by coaching staff who are juggling too many priorities, or is there a deeper, more calculated plan at work that outsiders simply don't understand yet? Fans are struggling to reconcile the idea of Sanders sitting on the sidelines with the reality that the Browns claim to be committed to developing both of their young quarterbacks. Some might argue that there could be a method behind the madness. Perhaps the Browns are intentionally keeping Sanders away from scout team reps to allow him to study the offense in a more cerebral way, focusing on learning the system, understanding defensive schemes, and mentally preparing for the day he might step onto the field. In theory, this approach could make sense. A quarterback who absorbs knowledge from the sidelines, watches reps closely, and learns from the mistakes and successes of his teammates can gain a different kind of experience than one who simply rotates through practice drills. Still, the optics of Sanders not running any live reps are difficult to ignore. The NFL is a league that prizes preparation, and there's no substitute for actually taking snaps under center, making reads, and getting the feel of timing with the offensive line and receivers. For a player who is effectively 2 plays away from being in a game, sitting on the sidelines can be seen as a squandered opportunity that could stunt growth and potentially impact team performance should an emergency arise. Cleveland's handling of its quarterbacks is not an unfamiliar story. Over the years, the Browns have developed a reputation for making unconventional choices, whether it's rotating quarterbacks, making sudden trades, or drafting players whose development seems inconsistent. The situation with Sanders fits neatly into that narrative, leaving fans in a familiar state of frustration mixed with cautious optimism. On one hand, there's the hope that Sanders' talents will eventually be harnessed and he will become an integral part of the franchise's future. On the other, there's the nagging concern that a lack of meaningful reps at this stage could slow his progression and delay the team's ability to rely on him when needed. Watching a rookie quarterback merely observe practices rather than participate actively creates tension between short-term operational decisions and long-term strategic planning, and the Browns seem to be walking that tightrope without much clarity. It's worth considering the broader context of quarterback development in the NFL. Teams invest heavily in their signal callers, particularly young quarterbacks who are expected to lead the franchise for years. Training camp, preseason games, and regular season practice reps are all critical pieces of this puzzle. A quarterback who consistently gets reps in practice is better equipped to handle in-game pressure, read defenses effectively, and execute the playbook with confidence. By not participating in scout team drills, Sanders might be missing out on these essential building blocks, potentially putting him behind his peers in terms of readiness and growth. Even if the team believes he is learning through observation, the lack of live repetitions could prove detrimental in high-pressure situations where instinct and muscle memory often matter as much as knowledge. Ultimately, the situation remains murky. There has been no official word from the Browns clarifying why Sanders is allegedly not participating in scout team or live reps. Without transparency from the organization, speculation will continue to swirl, leaving fans, analysts, and even Sanders himself to wonder what the actual development plan entails. In many ways, this uncertainty epitomizes the Browns' recent history, a franchise with potential that is sometimes overshadowed by confusion and miscommunication. For Sanders, the stakes are high. He is a young quarterback with immense promise, a player who could be the future face of the Browns' offense if given the right opportunities to learn and grow. But without clarity and structure, that promise risks being undercut by circumstances beyond his control. As Week 2 approaches, all eyes will be on Cleveland, not just to see how Joe Flacco performs, but to observe whether there are any signs of Sanders beginning to take on a more active role. Fans are left hoping that this situation resolves itself in a way that benefits both the rookie and the team. The Browns have the chance to turn this narrative into a success story, but it will require careful planning, clear communication, and a commitment to development that is more than just words. Until then, speculation, frustration, and curiosity will continue to define the conversation around Shedeur Sanders. For now, fans can only watch, hope, and wait as the Browns navigate yet another chapter in their long history of quarterback intrigue and organizational uncertainty. Enjoying the content so far? Smash that like button and drop your take in the comments. We want to hear what you think about the Browns this season. The NFL world is in shock tonight as news breaks out that could potentially shake the very foundations of one of the league's most talked about teams. Rumors have been swirling all day, whispers in locker rooms, hints dropped by insiders on social media, but now the storm seems real. Joe Flacco and Shedeur Sanders, two of the Cleveland Browns' key starters, have reportedly been suspended for violations related to performance-enhancing drugs. The word coming from multiple unconfirmed but highly trusted sources suggests that both players, who have been central to the Browns' offensive scheme this season, are facing serious disciplinary action. While the league has not yet issued a full statement, the sheer magnitude of the situation is already causing a ripple effect across the NFL, with fans, analysts, and fellow players alike scrambling to make sense of what this could mean for Cleveland and for the reputations of the men involved. The story begins with whispers in the Browns' training facility, where team insiders reportedly noticed unusual patterns in the conditioning and recovery routines of Flacco and Sanders. Some staffers speculated about possible supplementation that went beyond the league's strict regulations. These murmurs, initially brushed off as idle gossip, have now taken on a more ominous hue as the NFL's anti-doping authorities are said to have conducted tests that returned positive results. Flacco, the veteran quarterback whose leadership has often been cited as the stabilizing force behind Cleveland's offense, now faces scrutiny not just for his on-field performance, but for choices off the field that could tarnish a career that once seemed untouchable. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders, a young talent riding the wave of hype and pedigree as the son of Hall of Famer Deion Sanders suddenly finds himself in the middle of a maelstrom of speculation, with fans questioning whether his meteoric rise is entirely natural or artificially assisted. The timing of these revelations could not be more dramatic. The Browns, coming off a promising start to the season, had been riding high on a wave of optimism, with playoff hopes that seemed more tangible than they had in years. Analysts had been praising the team's offensive cohesion, noting how Flacco's steady hand and Sanders' athletic brilliance seemed to complement each other perfectly. Now, with the potential suspensions looming, that narrative is thrown into chaos. Discussions in sports circles are already heating up. Can the Browns maintain momentum without two of their most important pieces? How will the locker room respond to the sudden absence of both players? And perhaps most importantly, how will the fan base react to the possibility that two of their heroes might have violated the very rules they preach about so publicly? Rumors suggest that league officials are moving swiftly behind the scenes. While no official confirmation has been released, insiders indicate that meetings between NFL disciplinary committees and team management have already occurred. Sources close to the situation claim that the Browns front office is in crisis mode, trying to anticipate the fallout not just for the remainder of the season, but for the long-term reputation of the franchise. The implications of such suspensions are enormous. Beyond missing games, both Flacco and Sanders could face fines, mandatory rehabilitation programs, and an irreparable dent in their professional reputations. The mere suggestion of PED usage can have lasting consequences, affecting contract negotiations, endorsement deals, and even future Hall of Fame considerations. Fans on social media are exploding in response to the news. Hashtags related to both players have begun trending, with some expressing disbelief, others anger, and yet another faction trying to temper expectations until official announcements are made. The debate is polarized. Some argue that Flacco, given his age and experience, should know better, holding him accountable for what could be described as an uncharacteristic lapse in judgment. Others defend Sanders, citing his youth and immense pressure as a rookie sensation, and suggesting that the league's anti-doping protocols can sometimes produce controversial or false positive results. Across forums and comment sections, one thing is certain. This is no ordinary story, and the Browns' season could hang in the balance as the scandal unfolds. Interestingly, the narrative also brings into question the broader culture within the Browns organization. Are these isolated incidents, or are they indicative of systemic pressures that push players toward shortcuts to maintain peak performance? Analysts are already speculating about internal dynamics, pointing to the coaching staff's emphasis on high-intensity training and the franchise's recent streak of aggressive recruiting strategies. Some insiders hint that while the league's testing is rigorous, the intense physical demands and expectations placed on top-tier athletes can sometimes create environments where mistakes, intentional or not, are more likely to occur. The dual nature of this suspension, hitting both a seasoned veteran and a rising star simultaneously, adds a layer of complexity rarely seen in the NFL, leaving commentators pondering whether the Browns' internal oversight mechanisms are sufficient to prevent such crises in the future. While the league's official channels remain tight-lipped, speculation about the duration of the suspensions is rampant. Some insiders suggest a minimum of 4 games, aligning with previous doping-related penalties, while others hint at longer terms, given the profile of the players involved and the potential message the NFL might want to send. The uncertainty is creating an air of suspense akin to a high-stakes drama, with every game, every team announcement, and every media leak scrutinized for signs of confirmation or denial. For Browns fans, the coming weeks could feel like navigating a minefield, not knowing whether their team's offensive juggernaut is about to be crippled or whether this storm will pass with minimal damage. What is clear is that this story is far from over. Investigations, appeals, and public statements are all on the horizon, and the ripple effects of these suspensions, if confirmed, will be felt across the league. Rival teams are already watching closely, analyzing how Cleveland's strategy might change without Flacco's leadership or Sanders' explosiveness. Media outlets are preparing deep dives, examining past performances, potential replacements, and the long-term trajectory of both players. The human element is equally compelling. 2 athletes who have been under the spotlight, celebrated for their talent, now find themselves grappling with a crisis that could redefine their legacies. In the age of social media, the court of public opinion is often harsher than any official tribunal, and Flacco and Sanders are about to face that reality head-on. To wrap it up, what started as whispers and rumors in the Browns' inner circles has escalated into a full-blown spectacle, one that has the power to shake the NFL to its core. Joe Flacco and Shedeur Sanders, names synonymous with Cleveland's offensive identity, are now at the center of a potential doping scandal that could alter careers, franchise strategies, and fan loyalty. As the story develops, every tweet, every insider leak, and every official statement will be dissected with painstaking attention. The league, the team, and the fans are all on high alert, waiting to see whether this is a momentary scandal or the beginning of a much larger controversy. And while the truth remains just out of reach, one thing is undeniable. The Browns, their supporters, and the NFL at large are witnessing a dramatic, possibly historic, chapter unfold before their very eyes, with stakes that could resonate for years to come. Thanks for riding with us on another Browns Blitz. If you liked the video, share it with a fellow fan, hit subscribe, and ring that bell so you're always part of the Dawg Pound conversation. Go Browns!